This is Kadir. Welcome to my next video, IELTS Part 3. Part 1 was more like a warm-up kind of test, and IELTS Part 2 was a 2-minute long monologue where you were supposed to speak at length. What about IELTS Part 3? Let's dig into it. IELTS Part 3 is actually examiner's chance to push you to your limits of your language abilities in English language. They want to find out, they want to figure out how much different grammatical structures and vocabulary in English language you know. And this test is going to last for about 4 to 5 minutes, and the number of questions will be around between 4 to 6 questions. These questions will mostly be focused on abstract ideas of Part 2 topic. For example, in Part 2, the cue card I got was about how will you start your small business. Now, using the same topic in Part 3, they're going to ask you some more questions, and they will be more like abstract kind of questions. Now, it's pretty hard to exactly figure out what questions will be asked in Part 3, but if we analyze these general type of questions, we can put them in these 7 categories. For example, the first category is about your opinion. If I look at my topic, how will you start your small business, and the examiner may ask me a question from this category, like about my opinion, about my preference, the question may be like this. What do you think? How would you run your own small business? Second type is imaginary situations or hypothetical situations, situations which are not real. So according to my topic from speaking test 2, they might ask me, what would you do if you failed in your business in the first year? Now, this is imaginary situation here. Now, type 3 is cause and effect. Now, in this category, talking about the same topic of IELTS Part 2, the question could be, why do some people prefer to run their own business instead of finding a job? This is obviously about cause. And if they want to figure out what is the effect, then the question could be like, how running your own business may influence your busy family life. This is obviously, the question is about the effect of business that can have on your life. About compare and contrast. And the question could be around about the same topic, which is running the small business. The question could be something about like, what are the differences or similarities between owning and running a small business and being employed by a large business company? Type 5 is they might ask questions about the past, like change, how things have changed from past to present. So they might ask you a question on the same topic, like how have small business changed over the years? Next category is about future. They might ask you how things can change in the future, and the question could be around like, in your opinion, what do you think how the businesses will change in the future? And the next category, number 7 category, is about the advantages and disadvantages. They may ask you questions about what are the advantages of running or having or starting your own business, or what are the disadvantages of starting your own business. As I told you earlier, it's really hard to predict exactly what questions could be in Part 3. But if you look at all these types I just mentioned, these 7 types, it's going to be easy for you to make yourself ready for Part 3 exam. For example, let's say, how about opinion? If there's a question about where you have to express your opinion, you're going to think about what words or phrases I should use that can help me to express my opinion. You may want to use the words like, in my opinion, or to be honest, as far as I am concerned, so on and so forth. So you will think about these phrases in advance to prepare yourself, to give you some more practice. And also, if you want to talk about, let's say, if there is a question about the hypothetical situations, the unreal situations, when you think about hypothetical situation, you will think, what kind of grammar structure I am going to use to express my feelings about the hypothetical questions. So you will be exploring the answer, and you will be thinking about what grammar structure I will use. Obviously, you're going to use conditional type 2 sentences here to answer these kind of hypothetical situation questions. What about past? If you had a question from the past, because the main purpose of examiner asking you a question about the past could be they want to figure out how you're going to give you answer if you're asked about the change that has happened from the past to the present. Now, if this is the case, then you will think, what grammar I will use. You have a choice of using simple past tense, you may want to use present perfect tense, or you might be using past progressive tense. Now, again, you will explore more what are the differences between these three different kinds of tenses, and in what situation exactly I am going to use these tenses. This is like exploring. So these different kinds of types of questions will help you to explore your answer and give you answer in a better way to help you get really high scores in your speaking exam 3. So similarly, look at all the different types of questions I've just mentioned, and explore that how you will give the answer, what grammar part you're going to use, what kind of words or phrases or idioms you may want to use to help you give your answer better. What about the tips? Yes, it's the tips time. Now you looked at all different kind of questions, and you must be wondering, yes, we know all these categories and we know the grammar, we know the phrases, but how are you going to extend your answer? What kind of answer is a good answer? I'm going to tell you now. Tip number 1, give direct answers. It means that when you give the answer, you have to directly address the answer. Don't beat around the bush. Don't give general kind of answers. Directly talk about the answer. For example, how have these small businesses changed over the year? To answer that question, I would say, as far as I'm concerned, small businesses have tremendously changed over the years because of the use of technology. Now, in this answer, I directly answer the question. I did not give any kind of general answer. I'm giving my opinion, what I think. It's the technology. Because of technology, the small businesses have changed a lot. So don't beat around the bush. Tip number 2. Once you give the direct answer, you need to add a reason, give a reason, and then explain the reason, that why and how the technology has boosted small business over the years. What about the answer? Take a look at the answer. This is how my answer is going to look like when I add a reason to it to support my opinion. Take a look at this one. It's due to the fact that technology has provided easily accessible means of communication, such as Facebook, WhatsApp, Twitter, and so many other platforms. As a small business owner, you can easily reach your customers in a matter of seconds to get the message across. So this is my addition to the answer. Tip number 3 is that just giving a reason is not enough. You need to add an example. So tip number 3 is add an example to your answer. And when you give the examples, make sure or try to give examples from your own life, or you could borrow from your friends, or if you watch some TV or from media, you can borrow the stuff here. But if you give it from your own life, you're going to be more confident when you speak about it. So take a look at my answer, how my answer looks like when I add my own example. Take a look at it. For instance, one of my friends is great with baking, and she started a catering business from her home. She usually posts her services with pictures of a variety of cakes and cookies on her Facebook page, and she instantly receives plenty of birthday cake orders. She's truly happy about it. So you see, This actually happened. I mean, I gave the example of one of my friends. She started her business from her home, and this is how she flourished, and she's really happy about it here. So far, according to tip 1, 2, and 3, you have given the direct answer. You have added a reason to it, and then you have added an example. Now, this much should be enough to impress the examiner. But what if you cannot think of an example? How would you extend your answer? This is going to take us to our next tip, number 4. Tip number 4 is about speculation, giving a prediction about the future or the end result, the consequence, what can happen, what may happen. So take a look at my answer when I add my consequence to the answer. Take a look at it. Because of the use of technology, the world has become a global village, and therefore the use of technology is certainly going to help small businesses to flourish in the future. So I just added extra sentences to it. I mean, in case if I can't think of an example, this is just another tip that how you can extend your answer. Just by adding what may happen in the future. You're just adding a prediction to it. And now we talk about our tip number 5. What if you cannot think of an example? If you're not able to give the consequence or the end result of something you're talking about, or nothing is coming to your mind, here is my tip number 5, and this tip is about, you talk about the other side of the argument. Like you support, you like the use of technology in the spread of small businesses. What about the other side of it? You can talk about the opposite of the argument like this. So take a look at my answer. Majority of people also think that the more use of technology is only going to help the huge business giants, and it may negatively impact the spread of small businesses. However, we have to stay positive and keep our fingers crossed. So you see, this is how you can add your answer. So I've given you different tips. You can try any of these tips to extend your answer and try to impress the examiner. And what if you're just not able to either give an example or add a reason, or you're not able to talk about the other side of the argument? Nothing is coming to your mind. What next? Of course, you have to honestly accept that you can't answer it. But please remember, don't say, sorry, I don't know the answer. Please don't say that. Even if you have to accept it and you're telling the examiner that you can't answer it, but try to extend it. So take a look. I've given some suggestions at how you can extend it. Take a look at my suggestions. You could say, I didn't really think about it, but I think starting a small business in the future may get better. Or, to be honest, I cannot think of it clearly right now, but you can add what comes to your mind. Or, that's a good question, but I have never thought of it, but still I would give it a try. Or you can say, I may not know much about the issue, but I will give it a go. So simply don't say, I don't know. You try to stretch it and then do your best. But this also takes us to another problem, that what if you don't understand the question at all? It's always a good idea that you check with the examiner to clarify. So always ask for clarification if you can't understand a question. It's always a good idea to ask about clarification rather than giving a wrong answer. So with all these stretching the answer or being honest, you're telling the examiner that you know how to speak, but it's just that you can't think of it right now. What about a secret tip? Well, there is no secret tip to any speaking exam. It all comes down to you, that you need to give yourself more and more practice. Without practice, probably it's going to be hard for you to get high score. So the key is, or the secret is, that practice. Give yourself more and more practice. I have made a video on how to improve, how to sound like native speakers, where you can improve your pronunciation. I'm going to leave the link up there, and you can watch these videos and the rest of the other videos all about IELTS and how you could speak, improving your vocabulary and pronunciation. Remember, the examiners in the IELTS exam are usually focusing on these four categories. They look at your fluency, that how clear you are about it. They also look at your lexical resources, which means they want to look at your vocabulary, what variety of vocabulary you can use. They are going to look at your grammar. They want to test your different grammatical structures of your language, and they also look at your pronunciation. So I hope all these IELTS tips for part 1, 2 and 3 are going to help you and get you high score. Please let me know if these are helpful. Leave your comments down below, and I'm going to sign off. Cheers.